Grimwick sat eagerly on the bench, expecting a professor, security, or even President Rant to rush out and scold him. Make a big deal of him burning down the stage and destroying the university's prideful statue. Demons always appreciated boldness, and Grimwick welcomed the opportunity to make another large scene. It would be better to go out as a burning fireball than to fade away into nothing. But no one came. Burning Day was considered a holiday in Hellforge, and yet there was not even the shyest soul walking around where Grimwick sat. Every demon must have already left the mainland and was partying away on the Legion's islands. It had apparently seemed that they had already forgotten about Grimwick. Then a motion of shadows came from the arena's tunnel. Grimwick propped himself up and made himself as large as possible, and just as quickly deflated when he realized it was just two custodians. They were speaking to each other. Crazy ceremony, right? I can't remember the last time a student tried to burn down a statue of Brimstone, said one of them. Privileged kids. They think they own the whole place, scoffed the second. And I thought Rant was going to grill the kid right there. Yeah, must be getting soft. If that kid was so small, I could barely get a good look at him from my seat. Rant probably thought it just wasn't right. But also, no harm, no foul, right? It wouldn't have looked good for Rant to beat up one of his students for destroying a replica. True, agreed the second. Good thing that wasn't the original one made by the masters. That should be locked up in the vault. No need to have it out in public where people can do harm to it. They both agreed and started walking away and talking about their other news. But this day just kept getting worse for Grimwick as he processed what they had said. He didn't get selected by a legion, made a fool of himself in front of the entire demon world, and now the one thing that he took pride in got taken away from him. He destroyed not the main statue, but a replica. So he thought on that bench, where to go now? Not even in the near future, but afterwards, in this future, where would he go? The logical next step would be he would go to the unemployment department. They would give him a job, and one that he would do for all of eternity. But being that he insulted every legion that he could think of, he probably could even get a clerk role. He might end up as co-workers with the custodians. Grimwick wasn't the best when his plans deviated. His initial plan was so simple. Get into Brimstone University, get all the top academic marks, intern and gain experience every semester. Graduate, get selected by a top legion, move out of the dorms and into the legion's headquarters, rise through the ranks of the legion, and then conquer the most realms out of any demon ever. He got to as far as the part of graduating, and now he thought about his outburst. They might revoke that too. They might even kick him out of his dorm before he had a chance to move out. So then he thought he might as well beat them to that. So Grimwick sulked back to his dorm room. At least he could have the night to think about where he would go next. With everyone out partying, he had the whole dorm building to himself. But his mood only soured when he opened the door to his bedroom. His dorm room reminded him of all that he was a failure. Trophies, ribbons, and other awards he had won from his academics were proudly displayed on his dresser and walls. Mementos from his internships hung around the dorm room. Demon medallions and photos he had of famous demons were scattered across his desk, serving as inspiration. All of these should be in a museum. He always imagined it would have been called The Early Years of Grimwick, a signal of the greatness that Grimwick was. Instead, they just reminded him that despite all of the awards, it meant nothing to the Legion and nothing to the world. He hated them all. He hated his room. He hated everything. What was this stuff to him now but a wasted lifetime? He'd rather see it burned than carried around as a collection of meaningless accolades. And a smile crept on his face. What a brilliant idea. He conjured some fire and admired the crackling flame that cradled in his claw. He placed the fire on his bed and let the flame grow slowly. Soon his entire room was ablaze. What was a demon to do if not to destroy some things and make a mess? The smell of burnt paper and singed metal swirled about the room. Grimwick took one last glance at it and closed the door behind. He felt as if he was closing a chapter on his life. The room was lined with obsidian brick, and the fire could not escape, unfortunately. But the room would become like a furnace, and everything inside of it would be destroyed. As Grimwick exited the dorm, he realized that he should have at least kept the bed, or at least stayed the night before burning it all down. Now he truly had nowhere to go, and no possessions to tie him down. It should have felt liberating, but Grimwick had a tough time pushing down the feeling of shame. Then Grimwick felt something shake. He reached down into his shadow pocket, a handy drawer that demons could place small and important objects to. All Grimwick ever carried was his student medallion, and it shook again as he held it in his claws, and his status of student was wiped away. Great. Now he couldn't use the library or the resources of the university. They'd probably come out and escort him off the property here soon. Had they already figured out that he was the one who burned down his dorm room? Or was it for the whole burning down the brimstone statue thing? So now Grimwick's only possession in this world was this metal medallion. He was just about to throw it when it shook again. Then it shook again and the new words were written. Alumni. An idea crossed Grimwick's mind. Alumni had access to the university's portal rooms. Only university and alumni and the legions had such rooms. Brimstone's was considered to be an antique made eons ago, basically a reminder of how the realm used to look and how it used to operate. The legions had better technology, and theirs was far more advanced. But Grimwick didn't need fancy, he just needed one that could work. This could be his way in. He could go into a new realm, and the possibilities. What kind of realm would it be? What if he conquered it? What would the legions think of him then? Grimwick smiled as his mind once again raced to the possibility of statues, parades, and large legion parties. But would the old room work? These old ones didn't have a way of sending a request. They could only wait for a demon to summon from another realm. But there was a chance that he could make it into another realm, and that he could conquer it. He'd be the master of the world. And the legions would have to take note of him then. Grimwick began to laugh to himself. Ha ha ha, yes, this could work. With that, Grimwick extended his wings and took off towards the library. He reached the iron gates and inserted his alumni medallion. The door illuminated and opened, and as Grimwick walked in, he tucked the medallion back into his pocket. Despite Brimstone University's library to be one of the oldest and most complete in the realm, hardly anyone ever visited. It was always empty, which made it one of Grimwick's favorite places on campus. But there was only one downside. "What are you doing here, Grimwick?" the librarian asked with her ever-cheerful tone. Her chipper voice contradicted her blob-like body. Grimwick never saw her leave her seat, but her tentacles and head could reach any part of the library. Her head glided over towards Grimwick. "Shouldn't you be at the branding ceremonies?" she asked. She never moved from the library. She was probably stuck to that seat in which she sat in. She probably didn't even know. Probably the only one in the entire world who didn't know that Grimwick wasn't selected by a legion. So he figured he'd lie. "I didn't feel like going." Her eyebrow raised. "I doubt that very much. In all my years, I never seen a student study as much as you, Grimwick. So the legions must have passed on you, They didn't pass on me. I passed on them. I didn't get any good offers." Her head retracted some. Is that why your name on the program doesn't have an assigned legion?" She waved the program in front of his eyes. Grimwick snatched it. "How did you get this?" "This is the library, Grimwick, and Brimstone University's archive. I have all the programs archived here, including today's." "Oh, yeah?" Grimwick said as he burnt the program in his hands. "How about now?" The librarian didn't blink. "You think I only have one copy?" "Where are the others?" Grimwick barked, and then a tentacle held him down. "Why would I tell you that, Grimwick? Now before you go and destroy any other school property, tell me why you're here." "I want the portal room." Her eyes widened slightly. "And why would you want that?" "I'm going to conquer a world." She let out a snicker. "You never caught me as a jokester, Grimwick." "I'm serious. I'm an alumni, right? Which means I have access to the portal room," he barked. "And then what? You aren't associated with a legion, Grimwick. You have no claim. The other legions might imprison you for treason, or at least they'll sue you for damages. You don't have the funds to fight a legal battle with them, either. There is no point. Now, go. You aren't thinking. You've got eons to figure out what you really want to do. Take a century off, take a sabbatical, ask for an internship, or go into the tech fields. You're a smart young demon, Grimwick. No need to waste your life chasing fantasies." But Grimwick didn't want any of this. He wanted to be a conqueror of worlds and see the realms. Anything else would be playing on the sidelines. And Grimwick didn't play the sidelines. He was going into the realms. "The key," Grimwick said. The librarian's head turned back. "The what?" "The key to the portal room. Give it to me. I want in." The librarian's head floated back towards Grimwick, her cheery disposition wiped from her face as she came closer. "Even as an alumni, I can't just give you the key. You have to prove to me that you'll earn it, silly." "So you want me to fight you?" Grimwick asked. A tentacle smacked him on the head. Her speed was quick for someone who sat around all day. She just kept her same old smile. "No." Not everything can be solved with fire or strength. There is more to realm conquering than power, Grimwick. You must also be smart and cunning. Says a lady who's been trapped behind a desk for several centuries. Two tentacles smacked Grimwick on the back of the head and then began to coil around him like a constrictor. He felt his lungs as if they were about to burst. Sorry, he wheezed. She stopped squeezing but kept her grip. Okie dokie, Grimwick. You're having a bad day, so I'll give you a pass on your rudeness, but another word and I'll nullify your alumni medallion and make sure you can never come back. Okay? Her cheery smile still never faded as she put Grimwick back on the ground. Grimwick decided he at least should hear her out. Despite her cheery disposition, she was faster and stronger than she pretended to be. Perhaps she was even smarter. Now, she said, clasping her tentacles together, answer my little riddle, and I'll give you the key to the portal room. Answer it incorrectly, and leave my library. Okay? And if I refuse, she shrugged, you don't really have a say. I've got something you want, and you don't have anything that I want. So this is mostly for my own amusement. She did have a point. Grimwick could just hope that she would give him the key. Even if she did kick him out of the library, he wasn't strong enough to get past her. Not only that, but if she did revoke his medallion, no one in the university would help him reinstate it. Even those who were apathetic to him would probably hated him by now after the ceremony. This was his only way. Fine, Grimwick sighed. What is your riddle? She cleared her throat and began. I cannot be stopped by a sword, and yet I have enough strength to stop an army. Fire cannot touch me, and yet I can set an entire kingdom ablaze. I am priceless, and yet everyone holds me. What am I? A riddle. Grimwick hated riddles. Grimwick's first guess was fire. No sword could stop it, and yet it could beat an army. A large fireball would certainly do that. Fire can't touch it, because it's already fire. Maybe ice fire? It's priceless, and yet we all have it? Not everyone could use fire, so that wasn't the answer. He ran through this process several times, trying different weapons, different spells, but it must not be tangible if a sword cannot touch it, right? He ran it again. Something that changes states, something that controls, something that we all have. Well, Grimwick, what do you say? She wanted to teach him a lesson, right? Something that couldn't be found on the battlefield, something that could be found in the library. It's all she knows. And then it clicked. Grimwick smiled as he thought he knew the answer. Information, he said. A word cannot be cut by a sword, yet you can tell an army to stop or change direction. Fire, too, can't touch it. However, like fire, information can be changed and cause drastic harm to a kingdom. There is no price on information, but yet we all have it, despite some not wanting to use it. Her smile got even wider. Very good, Grimwick. You are so... Now give me the key, he interrupted. So rude. Now answer me one more question. Why do you think I'm a librarian? Grimwick didn't have time for this. You said one riddle. I don't have time to answer all of your questions. Now give me the key. Humor me with one more. Why, Grimwick, am I a librarian? She had pulled out the key and dangled it above Grimwick's head. Because you couldn't make it in a legion, Grimwick said, swiping at the key. Silly boy. Her smile fell into a stern look. I had 7 offers to be an officer upon my graduation from Brimstone. You couldn't even get an apprenticeship. Now think, why would I turn that down? Grimwick was growing tired of her questions and these humble brags. Because you're an idiot? No one would turn down an officer rank. I did. 7 of them. Now, Grimwick, think. This is your last lesson. Once you go through these portals, you'll be on your own. And if you couldn't handle a quote-unquote idiot librarian, as you called me, then you'll be dead and back in the spawn pool before you can say Legion. Grimwick looked around the library. Why would she want this? To be trapped in a building full of old books that no one reads or uses? It's like she'd be forgotten. She could hide out here for all of eternities and no one would know. Wait, that was it. Grimwick chirped back up. Because you can burn down entire kingdoms from your seat, can't you? Demonic libraries are the keepers of not only our history, but of Legion's activities and what they control. But if that's the case... Exactly. Her friendly smile returned. Sometimes it's more freeing to be a loner than at the top of a powerful Legion. Because even the most powerful need information from time to time. And who do you think they come to? She didn't answer the question. Grimwick began to nod. Sly librarian. Now here's your key. But I must warn you, our portal rooms are old. And not one has pulsed for centuries. You might be waiting a while. She dropped the key into Grimwick's arms. The old iron was heavier than he expected. I've already waited a lifetime. This is not a lesson in patience, Grimwick. I just don't want you to see you waste your life away. I'm serious. No demon has successfully portaled out of here for centuries. I'm afraid our gates are too old. The other legions pick up even the most subtlest requests. Grimwick knew the odds. But where else were we supposed to go? He had nothing to say, but the librarian still sensed his determination. 2 tentacles came over, one holding a pen and the other a ledger. And for what legion will you be conquering for Grimwick? Grimwick looked into her eyes. I'll be conquering for myself. No legion, just me. She sighed. Grimwick, you know that's not how this works. I don't care. You call me whatever you want. Just get out of my way. The librarian must have known the odds too, despite Grimwick not being the most friendly. She hated to see him waste all of his drive on a small sliver of hope. She must have thought that eventually Grimwick would grow tired of waiting in this musty building and get on with his life. Here's what I'll do, Grimwick. You aren't in the right state of mind, and deciding your legion name is important. The portals won't open for quite a while, and if they do, they'll be weak, so you need to take the chance. So when you decide on your name, you can let me know. Or if you do end up going through a portal, I'll pick a fitting name for you. Does that sound like a deal? Grimwick huffed. That's fine. Good. I'll show you the portal room, and while you wait, you are welcome to all the books in the library. I recommend Miss Naughty's volumes of romance. She leaned in closer to his ear. There are 1,903 of them, all worth it. Grimwick stared at the portal room, 3 stories tall with tiny pockets in the wall. It was like an abandoned beehive. These were the ancient realm gates. As legions grew, their technologies improved, and they began to build upon the portals of the ancients. Grimwick had seen them in field trips. Current legions' portals were so much wider and so much larger that large, more powerful demons could move between the realms with ease. This was not one of those rooms. This was an ancient room, where the doors were smaller and simple. It was just black obsidian all the way around. There was something impressive and humbling about their design. To think the entire demon world started expanding in small rooms like this, it amazed Grimwick. Now all there was to do was wait. Eventually someone from a realm would need to summon a demon, and when they did, a portal would open in one of the alcoves and Grimwick would go through it. It was dangerous to portal jump alone. If something were to go wrong, he could be stuck in that realm forever. And since no one was in here with him, no one would know where he went. Grimwick had all sorts of time to think about that while he waited for the portals to open. As his eyes adjusted, he noticed that every gate had cobwebs sewn throughout it. He might have to wait a while. He waited a day. Nothing even stirred. He waited a week. Nothing. Growing bored, he went back up to the library and started taking books. And it was a good thing he did, for he was in the chamber for a long, long time. Since there was no light in the chamber or in the library, the books became his only association with time. He started with volumes of famous archdemons, 231. Then he read Major Realms, 567 volumes. And then Minor Realms, 1,151 volumes. And then he picked up Other Careers to Consider, 7 volumes. He was halfway through volume 6 when a gold spark came from one of the chamber walls. He fell over in surprise. Grimwick dropped the book and glided over to the door frame. Another gold spark. Oh, come on, baby, you can do it. Another spark. Grimwick was sweating, trying not to scare the portal or extinguish it. It sparked a 3rd time. Whoever was summoning was doing a slow job at it. Oh, please, 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 open. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Grimwick's coaxing seemed to be helping. The tiny sparks were becoming more and more frequent. And then in one glorious flash, the portal ripped open. It was still small. Grimwick reached his hand for it, and then it vanished. And then no more sparks. Grimwick yelled. He stood there helpless. Come on, Grimwick said, dancing. I'm sorry for yelling. Please come back. Please come back. Then the portal tore open one more time. Grimwick didn't hesitate. He jumped through the tiny opening. He felt his body being stretched. It was like being launched out of a catapult. His eyes began to water. Shades of golden light whizzed by. Then everything went dark. Everything went quiet. The darkness persisted, but slowly his senses started to come back. There was a crackle of a small fire, a gentle breeze over his skin, and there was a smell of fried meat. And then a deep and childish voice said, "Are you okay?"